So welcome everyone to the 10th workshop for the workshop series with the Native American Science and Engineering program. What we're going to be working on, sorry, I don't know why my phone was, or my watch was triggered. Anyways, this is what we'll be working on for our agenda this week, or for today. We're going to summarize our last meeting, do a quick science fair check-in. I'm going to talk about my trip a little bit, do some announcements, and we'll go into breakout rooms if folks have some questions that they have for the program. So again, these are our community norms. Keep focused on a common goal, strive to understand multiple perspectives, be willing to be disturbed and change your mind, critique ideas and concepts, not people, share the space, stay engaged, recognize when each of us needs space, accept non-closure, and apologize and work to repair damage if a norm is violated. So who can remember what we talked about in our last workshop? Here are some photos for reference to help jog your memory since it's been 2 weeks, but who remembers what we discussed at our last workshop? Feel free to come off mute or put it in the chat. All right. So we did have some guest lecturers or guest presenters that week related to the opportunity we sent out a few weeks ago related to the native SOAR mentoring. Here are the folks up in this top photo here who presented. So they're students from the University of Arizona that are enrolled in Native SOAR, learning how to mentor, and they're also being mentored by graduate students and professionals. And Native SOAR stands for Native Student Outreach, Access, and Resiliency. It's a program that was started in 2013 at U of A in order to create a service learning and multi-generational mentorship program in order to create better access to education through these undergraduate students mentoring youth who are in the K through 12 system and also being mentored as well. Again, by those graduate students or professionals. They talked about what the program is and shared some resources, and also did like a breakout room activity related to reflecting on any questions that you all might have related to college going, and just some discussions related to the future, what your goals might be. And so we will be having them back on March 31st for a presentation. So I'll do a quick Zoom poll later in our programming to discuss what are some themes that you all want to see or talked about in terms of content that they can present on. But that was what we discussed in our last meeting. And this is the YouTube link for folks who may have missed it and want to watch later. This is a recap of SARSEF. That was it's already at the middle of March, so this was like 2 weekends ago, not last weekend, but the previous weekend, and we had 5 NASEP students participate in SARSEF, and so shout out to all of the students that participated, and there are 12 awards that were received in different categories for their projects. So these are the ones listed. So a 3rd place in behavioral and social science, so like an overall placement, another overall placement in environmental studies. There are some sponsored awards, including the Southern Arizona Psychological Association, the 1st place prize in behavioral science. I think that's supposed to be switched down. So there was a typo here. So there's actually more awards than I counted, I guess. Autism and the Mental Health Award, Excellence in Community and Problem Solving, Building a Bigger Table Award, U.S. Stockholm Junior Water Prize Award, Environmental Awareness Award, Honorable Mention, Arizona Hydrological Society, U.S. Stockholm Junior Water Prize, and the Young Botanist Award, or Young Botanist Honors Award. So give it up for the folks who participated and received these awards. And again, it's not about just the awards, but it's great to recognize the folks who did receive them. It's about the learning experience and learning more about what it is that you want to do for your future. So I want to recognize some of the feedback that I was shared with peers in terms of their experience, what their takeaways were, and what advice they would give for folks. So what was shared was choosing a topic that you're passionate about, because it is work, but if it's connected to your future and something that you'll enjoy, it'll push you to finish the project and put in more effort. So that's one learning. Another learning is that consent is needed when working with human subjects, so it's important to prepare in advance. A reflection from this student was that you have to be prepared to address questions with confidentiality, and also be sure to give time for your participants to answer questions, because some of them can be personal in nature, or if you want a thoughtful response, be able to give appropriate time for your participants, because they may decide to not participate if they're not being recognized in those ways, and then you'll lose participants, which isn't great for your project. The last learning was to stay on top of assignments, and also when creating the slide decks, to make sure that it stands out and is viewable for the reader, because they're on these poster boards and stuff. So you want them to be able to see it and not squint or have trouble reading what it is that you are presenting on. So it just helps with visibility. If I missed anything, you can put it in the chat if you participated and want to share about your experience, or if there's something else that was shared that I didn't cover. But the chat is open, or if you would like to unmute. And overall, when asked about if the project was worth it, everyone said it was worth it. They didn't say, no, I didn't learn anything, or it's not something I would spend time on. Everybody said that they learned something from it. So that's great. If you're in a space where you're still working on your project, then know that it'll be worthwhile for your learning and for your future exploration in terms of your educational and career path. So SARSEF question, I was out of the office as mentioned. So did anyone sign up for SARSEF? AZSEF. Did anyone sign up for AZSEF, the Arizona Science and Engineering Fair? I didn't receive any requests for sign up before I had left the office, and gave instruction to folks if they wanted to sign up and then send the registration information to be billed to us, so that we could figure out how to submit for your registration. So I just wanted to check in to see if anybody signed up, just so I can be aware of it. And if anyone needs assistance with that, it did pass, the deadline did pass last week. So unfortunately, if you didn't sign up, this is not one that would be available, but I just want to give a moment for anyone to message me to say if they signed up or not. And if you didn't, then that's okay, because there's the other fair, the NASEP fair, that can be signed up for instead, but I just wanted to see if anyone signed up for AZSEF. So I'm going to move on, but if you did sign up, please message me so that I'm aware and I can work on doing what needs to be done for your registration. All right, so for NASEP, they did release a an event schedule. I'm going to go over it briefly just so that you all are aware of um, what is anticipated. I just want to share that this is specifically for those participating in person. They haven't shared a schedule for the online virtual science fair portion yet. I'm checking and we'll share information as it comes. But just in case anyone is hoping to participate in person, I'm going to find that right now. Okay. All right. Hopefully everyone can see this screen here. So this is the event schedule for SARSEF. For the in-person portion, April, which is April 10th, this is going to be, it sounds like there's a resource fair. There's also poster set up. There's a meeting here, an Indigenous coder meet and greet. There's a kickoff, judging, lunch, judging, and then dinner and an exhibition booth. And then for the second day, April 11th, they're going to have registration, a talking circle, and like an outdoor activity. I'm not sure what ACE's adventure is. It sounds like they'll have a few different sessions here, as well as continued STEM tables and exhibitor booths. There'll be ACE's adventure still. It looks like this is professional development. I'm not sure what fire professional development is, but it will be fire and a marathon huddle. Continued on this day, there'll be a hackathon, hub sessions, and then the award ceremony later here and dinner. So that's what that looks like for the in-person. If you already did your science fair, like you participated in a regional fair, you're already done with your project. So I highly recommend that you seek out NASEP so that you can be part of the group that possibly qualifies for the International Science and Engineering Fair, and that's going to be happening in Phoenix this year. So yeah, it's either in your hometown or up the road for some folks. So yeah, that would be great. And if you're still working on your project, then you can also sign up for this as well. So if you are interested in attending virtually or in person, please let me know so we can figure it out, especially if you're trying to do it in person, because that will take a little bit more coordinating. So yeah, notifying me as soon as possible is the way to go, just so we can just start preparing for that. Any questions? If you have any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. And the link here, if you want to see that schedule again on your own time, that's the link for it here. All right, so I'm going to be launching a Zoom poll, and this is to ask what it is that you want to learn about at our upcoming workshops. we've talked about, we've covered a lot of things related to science fairs. And since this the time to be registering for science fairs and participating, we're going to be shifting gears since we've covered a lot of those topics. If you feel like we still need to cover certain things within the science fairs, um, please put that in the chat, not in the chat, sorry, in the poll. And also, Native SOAR is going to be providing content for some of these workshops. So um, for those of you that have met the students from Native SOAR and were in the breakout rooms, maybe something sparked in your mind that like, oh, I would love to talk to them about this more because we talked about this in our breakout rooms, or oh, because they're college students, I would like to learn about this information about this college pathway. Someone said that their major was this, and I really want to know more about that major. I want to learn more about certain resources that they have. I believe that they shared certain scholarships at the last session. But if you want to learn more about that, then they can talk about that more. They can even talk about their experiences. So please, in the Zoom poll, can you all see the Zoom poll by chance? Okay, I'm getting some responses, so
Yes, you could see the Zoom poll.
perfect. And Raquel, feel free to participate too, because you've also participated in Native SOAR and may know of some content that would be applicable to our students from your perspective as well.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Yes. So those are just some ideas. I know that I want you to also think of things that would be applicable to you in your lives. So if something that I said wasn't mentioned, then please don't limit yourself to what I'm talking about. Those are just my thoughts. Um, a lot of them are in ACES too. So if you want to hear from ACES students, we can also arrange that. Um, we do have workshops not only on March 31st, but April 14th and 28th. So if we don't cover it at this upcoming session on the 31st of March, then we can do it at the other two sessions as well. So I'll leave it open for about another 30 seconds and then we'll move on. I look forward to hearing what your ideas are because this is for you all. All right, I'm going to be closing it in 10 seconds. 2, 1. Okay, ending the poll. All right, here are, I don't know if you all can see the results, but I put share the results. I actually can't see it. Let me click view details. It's loading. Oh, it wants me to sign in. Raquel, can you see the results?
No, I can see the results. It just says the answer, but it's not letting me view the results.
Oh, okay. It's okay. I'll look at them later and see what sort of themes are there. It's Wait, is it showing you the answers? I guess is my question.
No, it's just showing me only my response.
Oh, it's only showing your response. Got it.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks for confirming. Um, all right, I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, it's not showing for you anymore, I hope, because it might block the next slide. So yeah, thank you all for participating in that poll. Here's some pictures from my trip. So I participated in the Cielo program, which stands for Cultural Inclusive Experiential Learning Opportunities. It used to be called GEL, which was Global Experiential Opportunities, but they changed it to Cielo. And I was on a pilot program to Peru. I had never been to Peru before. I had never been to South America. And so I was really excited to be going. And I hadn't really had that much experience um, with the country, with the people. So everything was new in terms of my learning opportunity here. And so when we traveled there, we landed in Lima, which is now the capital. It used to be Cusco, but yeah, the big airport was in Lima. We didn't spend too much time there because then later we flew to Cusco in order to get to Ollantaytambo. So Cusco used to be the old capital, and it's a huge city with a lot of rich history, and it's at a very high elevation. And I looked up the elevation. It's like twice the elevation of Flagstaff, to put that into context. Does anyone know what happens if you're at that high of an elevation? What can you experience?
Experience shortness of breath.
Yes. What else? It's okay. It's not a quiz. I just wanted to see if you guys know. Altitude sickness. Yes, altitude sickness. So shortness of breath is part of the symptoms of altitude sickness. Anybody know other symptoms that you can experience?
Dizziness.
Dizziness. Yep, dizziness. Yeah, you all know a lot. And because of that, um, shortness of breath, because you're at that higher elevation, your body is putting its work towards your main organs. And so that's like your brain and your heart. They told us like try not to eat something too heavy because you can experience like indigestion, so upset stomach. So we ate something that day that was like meatless, like very light. We had fish and stuff. Um, Maybe hypoxia if you have low levels of oxygen. Um, Thankfully, no one in our group experienced that. Some people did experience shortness of breath and some like stomach issues and things with altitude sickness. Who knows the natural remedy for altitude sickness? Does anyone know? It's okay because I just learned about this stuff too.
I was gonna jokingly say hugging the ground, but that's not it. I'm sure. Sorry.
Hugging the ground, something related to the ground. There's a plant. It's the cocoa plant, I think, because I get it confused with like cocoa, but cocoa, let's see, plant for altitude sickness. Coca leaves, that's what it was. Coca leaves. So they sold it a lot in like the shops and stuff there. You can like chew on the coca leaves. There was a tea. They even made like candies so that you can suck on them, but it's supposed to help you um, with altitude sickness. And it's like a plant that people there would use to. So that was really cool. And I
Carol,
fortunately, yes,
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yes.
For those people who live there or are born there, are they like immune to altitude sickness, or is this still something that impacts them as well?
That's a good question. I feel like they would acclimate, and my response is based off of our tour guide. His name is Porfi, and he didn't like he is from Ollantaytambo, and yeah, he didn't give any sort of sense that it impacted him at all. Like we were going up Machu Picchu, and it wasn't a very long hike. It was just up, like the incline was very steep, and he was like running up it, and he said that he's ran up it in 25 minutes. I think with our group, it took us like an hour and a half at the pace that we were going. So I'm sure that there is some acclimation there. I should have asked, but I think I just made some assumptions that it didn't impact them. So
Thank you.
I yes. But yeah, this picture here up top is from Machu Picchu. There's three different circuits that you can get. So the top circuit is up higher, so that's where um, you would see the like iconic photo of Machu Picchu where you see down into the valley. We were circuit 2 and 3, so we were a little bit on the lower level. But yeah, these are the different ruins that were there. Um, the photo that I showed before, um, you can see how well the construction of those buildings are, just the architecture and how they put things together. They didn't even have like cement to put them together. They just fit them so well. And someone tried to like put a like credit card or a little thin thing to see if they could fit it through, and you couldn't even fit anything through. So it's really quite amazing um, that this was done so long ago. The thought is that it was for well, it's for the royals that were there, and it seemed like they held different festivities. Um, and something I learned is that this is a cloud forest. It's considered a cloud forest, so there's different levels of and types of forests, and so it makes sense with all of the clouds that we saw here, and it's from the cool air coming meeting the hot air that these clouds are made. Um, I did hike all the way up. We did take the bus down just because of how steep it was. And the tour guide, Porfi, he told me, he was like, those shoes are not for, those are for flat uh, surfaces, not for climbing. So yeah, he knows a lot about that just from being in the mountains. Um, this photo in the middle here is from Ollantaytambo, which is, it was a hour and a half train ride from Machu Picchu. And that whole area is called like the Sacred Valley, where it meets, and it's very lush in agriculture, and a lot of a lot of indigenous people live there, and the service project that we did was related to the Sacred Valley project. They had a dorm for indigenous girls who didn't have access to education, either because their community that they live in only goes up to a certain grade level, or they just live really far. To provide some context, some of the girls were a 3 hour car drive and then a 3 hour walk away from the school. And it's so rural that they had to walk to, like, the car couldn't drive them all the way back to where they needed to go, which is why they walked. And so the dorm was a space for them to live during the academic year so that they continue their education. So that was really cool. And yeah, I'm just thankful to everybody in my group who also speak Spanish, because they were really helpful in helping me communicate. I took it in college and high school, but I'm not fluent, so their help really helped a lot for us to be able to communicate with the girls in that project and other Spanish speakers as well. So yeah, that's why the theme I talk about here was related to college access. And something I think is great in working with CLO is their focus not on just travel, but connecting with the community in that way through those service projects. The two photos on the side, so the one on the bottom left and the bottom right, are from the Amazon rainforest. So after going from being in the high Andes Mountains in Ollantaytambo, Machu Picchu, and Cusco, we traveled down south to the rainforest and the Amazon. That's the Amazon, part of the Amazon River here in the back on this bottom right photo. And yeah, it was a huge, huge change being in these lush green mountains to very humid and hot, rainy weather down in the Amazon. We worked with and stayed with a nonprofit called New Leaf, and in Spanish it's called Hoja Nueva, where the individuals that founded that space were rewilding animals, reintroducing them to the rainforest, or for folks or for animals that weren't able to be reintroduced, they were caring for them. We didn't see any of the animals that were going to be reintroduced because they wanted them to have little to no, like the least interaction with people as possible. And the animals that we did see were ones that couldn't be released for different reasons. There was a cougar that was there that had its nails removed or it was declawed because it was in the circus. There was another animal that was in the zoo and was very elderly, so they thought it would be inhumane to reintroduce them. There was another animal, I think it was an ocelot, that had been held in captivity and isolated for so long that when you saw it, it basically was coming up to greet you because it was so happy to see a person because it had been isolated for so long. We saw a huge caiman, which is similar to like an alligator, and those couldn't be reintroduced because of humans. They didn't want them in the lakes because they wanted to use the area for recreation. And so what was interesting about the caimans was there's two different species, a white caiman and a black caiman. And normally in the jungle, the larger one, the black caiman, would have eaten the smaller one, but they were a bonded pair that were in the zoo together. So they actually like protected one another. So that was really interesting to see. We went on hikes for the animals, well, for all the animals, but the ones that they were trying to rewild, the ones that they were caring from, they have to create enrichment for them because being in the space and being just fed, they want to create these puzzles that keeps their mind working. So we got to create some like enrichment toys from bamboo, palm leaves, and some other things that we collected from the jungle. We also set up trail cameras, saw how they code the data, and saw examples of what was captured in the trail cameras. And so that was really cool because it sort of connected the learning together. They also had us do a game that was related to the trail cameras as well. They said they would send the videos, so if I get those videos, then I'll share it with you all. However, they have the cameras up for the trail for like 3 months, so it will be a while before we get access to that. I felt like I was prepared in ways just from being back on the res, as like many of you likely would be, because they did have running water, but they used compostable toilets as to not use the water for like sewage and things. There was access to water, but you had to take quick showers as the water would run out if you overused it. So water conservation was important, and anything that they brought into the area had to be brought on boat and then carried on your back into the lodge area, which was about a 10-minute walk, which we learned when we landed uh, on the boat because we actually had to carry our luggage to the lodge in the mud. We did need to use rain boots. The bottom photo here shows an example of like some of the watery areas, the mud that we were walking through. Um, and the water level is pretty high. You can see it almost went over my boot there. And I thought it was funny because it was really a reflection for us to be like, okay, if we were to do this again, I would definitely pack smarter because I had to carry that bag in. So I would want to make it lighter, would probably bring like a backpacking bag instead of like a suitcase because you can't just roll it through the rainforest, and also reflected on like consumerism because before this we had been, excuse me, at Machu Picchu in different places and people want to buy things, and that created a lot of weight in our bag. So it was like, did I need to buy that last thing to make my bag heavier? But so yeah, that ties into the wildlife conservation and sustainability, also indigenous knowledge from both areas, the Andes and the rainforest, because living in those that high elevation and in the rainforest um, takes um, delicacy and also just innovation to be able to live well in some of those areas. So there was, has anyone here seen a javelina before? A javelina? Probably people in Phoenix and southern Arizona. Yeah.
I've seen a couple javelinas before
Oh,
over
yeah.
here, New Mexico, and one time in Texas.
New Mexico and Texas. Yeah, they look like hairy pigs, right?
Yeah, yeah. They had some pretty big tusk too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pretty
Yeah,
common in Tucson as well.
yeah, Tucson, right?
Yeah.
Can can you believe that we saw them in the rainforest?
Really?
Yeah. The cougar too. We saw a cougar in the rainforest. And we see them back home, even on the res. We see them here. We saw, um, they said that we have jaguars that cross over into Arizona. We were told that there's also jaguar in the rainforest, but we were told that the um, ocelot, which is another form of cat species, feline species, shares the same habitat as the jaguar. So I learned from my cousin who does wildlife conservation that we also have ocelot that we were seeing in the Peru and also here in Arizona and in Texas. And so it's crazy to think that we were all the way in South America and you think that the animals that you see there are unlike the ones that you see back home, when in reality we do see them at home. Um, we saw, I just forgot what it was called. It's the state animal for Arizona. Um, but yeah, they have them there too in Peru as well in the rainforest. So it also um, was just really eye-opening to see the species variation, the distance of the species coverage, and yeah, I saw hummingbirds. I saw a black and white hummingbird. If you've seen Harry Potter, the Goblet of Fire, I think, when Mad Eye Moody is showing the curses on this um, insect, we saw that insect in the Amazon. I thought it was just a made up bug, but it does exist and it was in the rainforest. Some people touched it. Um, so yeah, it was a really great experience. And um, I've gone to, I think this is my fifth Cielo program. The one I did before was Costa Rica. Before that was Bali. Before that was Puerto Rico, and then my first one was to Mexico. Um, so I really think that travel in this way has shaped my knowledge of the world. It's also helped me learn about myself in addition to other places. And it's just one example of the places that education can take you. And so if you, um, wherever it is that you decide to go and whatever it is that you decide to do, travel is something that I implore you to take advantage of if given the opportunity. Yes, Rudy.
I was just gonna say that the experience that Carol is sharing is one that Cielo is great because it really has been focused on um, targeting and working to include populations that maybe traditionally haven't been involved in travel. And so a lot, I think that the program works a lot with first generation college bound students, first generation college students, I should say. And that's a great program that Carol's mentioning. I love the fact that they incorporate so much service. I think that sometimes when you hear about these trips, that people, when Carol says that she went to Peru, a lot of people are probably all like, oh, what a lush kind of experience Carol must have had. And don't get me wrong, Carol's experience must have been amazing. But so much of that was really kind of providing service to the communities that are there, really learning about like the history of the land and of the peoples. Um, it's something that's done very uniquely by this group that's called Cielo and their staff and probably speaks to potentially why Carol has gone on so many of their trips because it's done in this very kind of respectful, non necessarily touristy way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, and then on the other side of that, I will say that at the University of Arizona recently, and at other universities too, there is a lot of focus on like study abroad programs. At the University of Arizona, there's a family that recently just gave a lot of money to the study abroad office. Um, and that's to help students be able to engage in study abroad. So there is this benefit of travel and going to experience in places where you may not have an opportunity, where you may be learning to speak a different language or have exposure to a different language, to have exposure to different culture, all of that, those pieces. Um, so there's a family that gave a lot of money recently to study abroad. And then there's the Steve Kerr, who is a former basketball player at the University of Arizona. He played on the championship team for when the Wildcats won the NCAA championship. Fingers crossed that we might be on that path, hopefully again. But he also played for the Chicago Bulls and won championships there. He now is the coach, and where he coaches is going to escape me at the moment. Um, but he and his wife, I believe, and his family, I believe, just gave $1 million to the humanities department at the University of Arizona. Humanities is oftentimes where you're going to learn different languages. And that humanities department is also receiving this money to send their students on study abroad opportunities to learn these different languages. So, just as Carol was mentioning, college can sometimes open up these experiences. I never had a chance to study abroad um, or to really take advantage of travel when I was a college student. And I'm so envious as I hear from students or from colleagues who talk to me or that I've been able to interact with that talk about the opportunities that they took advantage of and not took advantage of, but that they sought, where sometimes they were applying for scholarships that helped to make something possible for them. And then they had these amazing experiences So thank you so much, Carol, for kind of sharing this with the students. Hopefully this might kind of open up opportunities for each of them, potentially for their future, for them to consider such study travel opportunities as they move into their higher education options.
Yeah, and there are scholarships out there. I received the Gilman Scholarship when I was an undergraduate student to study in Italy. There were some rules. I think you had to be staying in the same country and had to be at least there for 3 weeks. But if you find that wherever it is that you go, that that's something that you want to do, then I would recommend the Gilman Scholarship as well. Um, I think another big takeaway is just with a lot of these programs, I've learned a lot about like global indigenousness and just the different people that are um, native in their communities. And something I really appreciated about being like Ollantaytambo um, was that a lot of people, their first language is Quechua, which is the Quechua language for the Quechua people that live there. So that was really cool. A lot of them said that they didn't learn Spanish until their teens, or maybe some of them only speak Quechua. So I also got some experience with learning that indigenous language as well. I did had to put them in my I had to put the different phrases in my notes to be able to remember them. But I know that Ayin Punche was good morning. Um, Ayin Yancho was like, have a good day. And they didn't have, like in most languages, a word for goodbye. It's more like, I'll see you soon or I'll see you later. But the phrase for see you later in Quechua was Tupan Anchis Kama. So, yeah, our tour guide, again, his name is Porfi. That's the nickname that he told us to say. He's Quechua from Ollantaytambo, so he taught us a lot about the area there, about the different ruins, um, and just being an athlete. I think he's in his late 50s, but he was passing us all when going up here. There's a video. I don't think it'll show because of the green screen, but when we were taking bags through the forest, like when we were getting ready to leave, he said he was training, so he wanted to take people's heavy bags. He literally had the bags on his back and was like running through the rainforest with them, and then would turn around and run back. So, yeah, just was really inspirational to be like, dang, I want to be like him, and just be. I think he said that some researchers followed him because he ran for 14 hours. Um, he was sponsored by Adidas at one point. They did take away his sponsorship because of his age. So I'm like, what the heck? That's ageist. But yeah, he was sponsored by Adidas. But yeah, I know a lot of you are runners, so I just wanted to share that with you all too. And I know a lot of people were wanting to be in that high elevation just to train for running and stuff. So yeah, really inspirational, and it was a really great trip. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have related to this trip or just study abroad in general. Um, yeah, I can talk about that a lot. So if you have questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Um, yeah, so moving on. Here are upcoming deadlines for the program. So the NASEP registration deadline is coming up, I'm thinking sometime next week. I'm not certain because this is what's listed on the ISEF website and not the NASEP website. So for folks who have already completed their projects, I'm going to go ahead and just sign you up. If you don't want to, if you don't want to be signed up, let me know. And if you're someone who is working on your project and wants to be signed up, let me know because I won't know unless you tell me. This one is a free registration as well. So unlike AZSEF, which will have to cover the registration fees for. If you did sign up for the Arizona Science and Engineering Fair, March 27th is when the judging and interviews will be for high school. Our next workshop will be on March 31st. And for those of you who are wanting to do the NASEP fair, the virtual science fair will be on April 3rd. So a little over 2 weeks from now. And then the in-person is about three weeks from now, from April 10th and 11th. And then our next workshops are April 14th and April 28th. And May 2nd is our NASEP closing ceremony. I'll be sending out an RSVP notice to you all soon for that. It will likely be included in our upcoming reminder email, which will have this recording and everything. So look out for that as well. Continue working on your project tasks. If you have any questions, please let me know. Here's a link to this document here if you need access to it. What we covered this week was just reviewing our last meeting, having that science fair check-in, my trip with Cielo, and our announcements. Again, I just said this, but save the date for May 2nd. And if folks have any questions, we can stay on for breakout rooms. And this quote here is from Lone Man, who is Tintin Sioux. And he said, "I have seen that in any great undertaking, it is not enough for a man to depend simply upon himself." So meaning, if you need help, please reach out to us and ask, because we're happy to do so. But with that, we've come to the end of our presentation, so I'll stay on if folks have questions. Feel free to stick around and ask them. Other than that, have a good night if you don't have questions otherwise. Thank you for being here. See you later. If you have questions, you can also notify me in the chat as well.